Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamerspro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. Chris Broussard is a LeBron guy, right? He's a LeBron guy. He believes that LeBron is the second greatest player of all time. I even believe he said he's signed to Clutch Sports and all of this stuff. So he's a LeBron guy. But nevertheless, he still maintains that Michael Jordan is the greatest NBA player of all time, right? And he will argue that point with anyone. And usually when he argues that point, he brings up some fantastic points. Now, as you guys know, Anthony Edwards came out there and made some comments about Michael Jordan's era, where he said that MJ was the only player in his era that had skill. You've had various people try to come out here and twist his words and say, no, he said, we're going to go off of what he said. And he said that MJ was the only player in his era that had skill. Everyone has reacted to it. People in big media have reacted to it. Even Chris Broussard himself reacted to it yesterday. But in the midst of him talking about this, towards the end of this segment, it was a show that was published on The Odd Couple yesterday. It was about a 19 minutes video. He says something that I believe was quite revealing. And he said something that a lot of people are thinking, which is the following. Chris Broussard basically went on to say that he believes that the real reason things like this are being said about Jordan in his era is because of the LeBron-Jordan debate. And he believes that these LeBron zealots that are out there that are creating these different narratives and talking points as a way to bring down Michael Jordan's legacy. Now, some of you are like, there's no way Chris Broussard says something like that. And I'm here to tell you he did. And those are the comments that we want to get into. But before we even get into what Chris Broussard had to say, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, PrizePicks, which is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. So what we want to do now is want to play exactly what Chris had to say. It's only less than a minute, about a 40 second clip. And then want to come back and really get into this show. Take a listen to what Chris Broussard had to say here.
Exactly means. Them guys play real basketball. They had real skill set, and he just talks stupid. I think this is a rebuttal to they getting tired of some of the older heads talking about how soft the game is right now.
Yeah, and I think all this kill the 90s stuff is and
done
we're
with
done
the
with the
90s.
90s,
Yep.
it's a response to the Jordan LeBron debate. Right? That's really what it is, because it's a way to try to disparage Jordan's competition. And then obviously say, well, see, he didn't play against the competition that LeBron played against. That's where a lot of
Plumbers,
this comes
Chris.
from.
They were just plumbers, Chris. They weren't no
Right.
good. They were just
Well,
plumbers, bro.
That was J.J. Redick. Now, that wasn't the 90s, obviously. We talking about the 60s and stuff.
A new current NBA
But,
coach.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I feel you.
Oh,
But,
I know you do.
Yep.
All right, let's move on, man.
So you heard what the man had to say, right? He believes that it's these LeBron guys that are doing it. Now, here's something that's interesting. There's something that exists within the LeBron James fan community, which is this. LeBron James fans, there are some of them that believe that in order for you to be a real LeBron James fan, you can never say negative things about him. And if you dare, even as a LeBron James guy, say one or two negative things about him, you may be ostracized by some of the extremists, which we call the LeBron zealots. I have seen it. I have seen LeBron fans turn on one another because one of them dared to make a critique about LeBron James. I've even heard some LeBron fans say that Chris Broussard is a fake LeBron James supporter because he refuses to say that he's better than Michael Jordan, or when he comes out and says things like this. It happens. I have actually seen it happen. I want to go back to what I said at the beginning of the show, where some people believe that this is where it came from. About 2 days ago, we produced the show on some of the things that JJ Redick had been saying when he was on ESPN and all of that. And I was saying that JJ Redick is the one that really kicked off this disrespect towards Michael Jordan and players from his era. But a lot of people in the comment section that watched that show were saying, no, it's not JJ. The one that really started this was LeBron James fans and LeBron himself. People were actually saying that. And now to hear Chris Broussard, who's a LeBron guy, a person who's even represented by Clutch, for him to say that it's LeBron guys that are pushing this, it makes me begin to think, well, is it LeBron guys that are really doing this now? Does LeBron have this fetish of trying to control narratives and have people think that he's better than Michael Jordan? Yes, he does. It is a fact. It is a fact. It is a bloody fact. Even Rashard McCann just revealed years ago when LeBron came into the NBA, one of his goals was to erase the old 23. So LeBron is transfixed on supplanting Michael Jordan as the greatest player of all time. He is fixated with it. And all he does is send his cronies out there to basically argue on his behalf on a daily basis and take one shot at the other. I think the guy's name is Andrew Schultz. He had JJ Redick on his show a number of months ago before he was a Lakers coach and all of that. And they were talking about we're done with the 90s. And he made a joke to JJ where he was like, I'm sure it was your man LeBron that started all of this. And JJ just kind of laughed it off. But we do know that LeBron and these guys are in desperate search or desperately want NBA fans to believe that he's better than Jordan. We know this. We've even heard conversations that Stephen A. Smith revealed between himself and Rich Paul, where he was like, I have LeBron as the second greatest player of all time. And Rich Paul stared at him and looked him dead in his face and said, that's disrespectful. So to them, if you're not saying LeBron is the greatest player of all time, you're disrespecting. And since they know that the vast majority of NBA fans consider Jordan to be the greatest, then what they have to do is they have to work on a daily basis to try to tarnish Jordan's legacy. So now on second thoughts, maybe it did start with LeBron and these guys. We do know they have an obsession with Jordan. We know that. We know that. I see so many different creators creating shows on different topics, and you see one thing, and I'm like, so as this was being said in these different groups and these different spaces around the internet, I've heard one of them say that Horace Grant is a Hall of Famer, because apparently what some of them are trying to do is that they're trying to elevate Michael Jordan's teammates and then diminish LeBron's teammates to make it look like, oh, Jordan had more help than LeBron, which is crazy, which is absolutely insane. But these people actually try to make this argument. Some of you are like, no, but it must be close. It's not even close. It's actually offensive, the amount of help that LeBron has had versus the help that Michael Jordan. Somebody like, well, how do you prove this? I can prove it easily. Of all of the all-star caliber players, Michael Jordan's teammates that he played with throughout the duration of his career have a total combined all-star appearances of 10. Let me repeat that once more. Jordan's teammates that he played with throughout the duration of his NBA career, if you tally all of their all-star appearances together, it amounts to 10 all-star appearances. 10. If you calculate all of the all-star appearances that LeBron's teammates have had throughout the course of his career, it's about 130. It's about 130. About 130. So it is laughable, the notion that LeBron had more. It is a joke. A total joke. A sham. A farce. But these are the extents that these people go through. And they try to conceal all of this information from NBA fans that, for me to put it bluntly, that refuse to do research. Most NBA fans don't do research. So you can get anything over them. The amount of help LeBron has had it is a laugh-a-thon. And then if you juxtapose the fact that LeBron has had more help than Jordan, but somehow has found a way to lose more than Jordan, while Jordan has played more competitive teams, it is a joke. We're going on 22 years. The man is sitting on 4 rings. Still trying to get to 5. Jordan did it in 15 years. 15. And actually, he did it in 14, because he missed a year. They can't even come close. They cannot even, and they know this. That's why they come up with one stupid argument after the other. We're done with the 90s players in the past. And then you have NBA players today that are just basically out there selling their soul for clicks and views and money. So they're going to sit up there and twerk it up every single day, slap each other with honey, run up and down the hallway hollering and screaming, vibrating and gyrating all over the floor, saying all kind of madness. Oh, them didn't have no skill. Them players are really good. Really? Really? Is that what we're saying? That's what these guys are saying. So for Chris Broussard to say this, he already knows what time it is. We all know what time it is with these dudes. As you guys know that we're currently in the month of August. Why is that important? Because August is usually when people go on vacation, right? Various people go on vacation, and it's no different in sports media. So there's some voices that we haven't heard from, on various issues. And then there are voices that we've heard from, right? But one of the people we didn't hear from is Chris Broussard. He hadn't been on air for, I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks maybe. And in the midst, and during his absence, there was a pretty big story that came out that was centered on some comments that Anthony Edwards had to make, right? Now, if you know anything about Chris Broussard, he's a basketball guy. He analyzes basketball at a very deep level, and I think that he does a fantastic job, right? Now, I disagree with him having LeBron as the second greatest player of all time, but to be fair, he does have Jordan as the number 1 greatest player of all time. But during his absence, Anthony Edwards came out there and made some statements, which were simply, he didn't see any players from the past. And he said that Michael Jordan was the only player that had skill in his era at that time. Now, some people have tried to say, no, he didn't really say that. People like Gilbert Arenas, I don't know why Gil is doing this. Gil tried to change his statements, literally. He said, no, he didn't say this. What he meant to say is like, no, we got to go off of what he actually said. He said MJ was the only one that had skills back then. For whatever reason, Gilbert Arenas decided to go in a different direction. But the vast majority of us said, no, we're going to respond to what the guy actually said, right? And I was eager to hear Chris Broussard really get into this topic and really give his thoughts on it, because I knew he was going to come with the heat. So yesterday they had a show on the Odd Couple, and it was with Chris Broussard. The show was Chris Broussard, but they had VJ Husky, who I believe was filling in for Rob Parker. So they're talking about this, and Chris Broussard, they play the audio of Magic Johnson. They kind of say the preliminary things. And then Chris says, I really want to break this down to a molecular level and really get into the details of the comments that Anthony Edwards was making. And in the midst of him doing that, he just totally went nuclear on these people that were just trying to disrespect Michael Jordan's era to elevate LeBron James's era and the era that these guys play in. So for those of you who didn't hear the breakdown from Chris Broussard, I want to play it for you now, and then want to come back and react to his comments. Take a listen to Chris Broussard here.
But I actually want to break this down.
Okay.
I want to break down what Anthony Edwards said, and let's explore it. And I think we'll have a chance to give it to the callers and see what they think. But first of all, VJ,
let's go.
What does he mean by skill? What does he mean by skill? Because obviously Michael Jordan is the GOAT. I think you agree with that too.
Not close. You're absolutely right.
All right. But Michael Jordan in the 90s was not the best shooter in the league. He was probably the best mid-range shooter, but he wasn't the best overall jump shooter. He had a nice handle, but it wasn't the best handle in the league. No. He was a very good passer, but he wasn't the best passer in the league. You know what I mean? So now he had the best moves, and that's a skill. But I'm just wondering, like, why do you say Michael was skilled? He was, of course, but other guys weren't. There were guys that dribbled better than Michael. There were guys that shot better than Michael. There were guys that passed better than Michael. But why weren't they skilled? And secondly, I'm wondering, like, who VJ, who won the MVP on Team USA this year at the Olympics?
LeBron.
Yeah,
LeBron.
Now, I think Steph should have won it because he was so dynamic in those last 2 games, but LeBron was the best player over the 6 games. That's fine. My point is this. Is LeBron the most skilled player on that team?
No.
LeBron ain't the best shooter.
Nope.
He's not the best
He doesn't have the
LeBron's
best handle.
airballed several free throws.
Yeah.
And I love LeBron. I'm just saying he's airballed several free throws in the NBA.
Yeah.
All right. He is not the best dribbler. He's the best passer on that team. But what are you even talking about? What do you even mean when you say skills? Because I tell you one thing that's a skill, VJ. Post moves.
Absolutely.
Who playing today? And I'm including Nikola Jokic, and he's about the only one I can say because he's the only one with any even decent post moves. And his post moves aren't great. Really aren't. I mean, as much as I love Jokic, I think he's the best player in the world. His post moves aren't great.
Slow motion.
Right. He's big. He got a little hook, little jump hook, and he can, score in there. Ain't nobody in the NBA today that has a fraction of the post moves that Akeem Olajuwon had in the 90s. Or that Kevin McHale had in the 80s.
Yep.
There is no one in the NBA today, because passing is a skill. And it includes LeBron, and it includes Nikola Jokic, who is close to as good of a passer as Magic Johnson was. 3 of the best passers of all time. I would say 3 of the top 10 passers of all time. Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. They played in the 80s, not even the 90s for the most part.
I can't fit John Stockton in there?
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Right. I was about,
and he was obviously more 90s.
Yeah.
And so I'm just saying, like, what are you even talking about? What do you mean by skill? The only thing, I guess, are you saying 3-point shooting? And they shoot the 3 last year, 2024. The average 3-point percentage in the league, VJ, was 36.6%. In 1998, when the line was same as it is today, it was shorter for 3 years in the 90s. But in 1998, it was the same. It was 34.6%. So 2 percentage points difference in 3-point shooting. They just shoot it a lot more now.
Yeah.
And I believe if they had shot it as much then, the percentage would be pretty close to what it is now. I will admit that the ball handling today is better.
You think
ever.
so?
Well, here, let me finish.
Okay.
It's better than ever, but here's why. They let you carry.
Okay, all right, there we go. Okay, well, then it's not better then.
But I mean, they allow it. But I agree with you. I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with that. But you know what I'm saying? Like I played point guard in college. I'm not saying I had the greatest handle in the world. I didn't. But I'm telling you, if I would have been allowed to palm the ball the way they do today, you literally see dudes take they'll have their hand under the ball for a split second.
A whole second.
And cross over and go to opposite. Like, that is, I mean, you can do all types of stuff now. They carry bringing the ball up court against no defense.
Yep.
They carry all the time.
And
when we were growing up, you had to keep your hand on top of the ball.
Top of the ball.
Sometimes it gets on the side, of course. But you can do so much more when you have that type of freedom to have your hand under the ball, to hold it for a split second or second in the air before you decide which way you go. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, serious. And so that is why you see, what he thinks are skills. And to your point, it's breaking the rules, but they now allow it. And so, Ant should have stopped at, I didn't watch it back then, so I can't speak on it.
So you heard the points that Chris Broussard had to make there. I want to start from the end. He spoke about NBA 3-point shooting percentage, right? And he basically said that the way we glorify players today by basically saying that they're the most skilled ever and all of this stuff, people usually attribute this to two things. The first thing they attribute it to is ball handling, and the second thing that they attribute it to is three-point shooting. I want to focus on the three-point shooting momentarily, and let's get into the data and what it says about three-point shooting, because those that are saying that this era is more advanced from a skill level, we need to go in and really understand what the hell is going on, because I feel like there are a lot of platitudes that are being thrown out there. And now it's gotten to the point where whenever you say, what makes this era better, it's to say three-point shooting. And then you have this concept of, well, players today could shoot threes versus players in the past couldn't shoot threes. And that's just simply not the case. What we see, however, is an emphasis on the three-point shot, not the absence of the three-point shot in the past. So I'm going to get through some of the data here, and we want to put up a chart here for you guys. And it breaks down three-point shooting by the decades. We have the 1980s, the 1990s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and the 2000s and 20s. Let's start in the 90s, okay? The three-point shooting percentage in the 90s was 34.7. In the 2000s, it improved. It went from 34.7 to 35.6. You're like, wow, that's an improvement. Then in the 2010s, it went from 35.6 to 35.6. So we didn't really see much of an improvement there. And then in the 2020s, it went from 35.6 to 3.1, right? So it went up essentially, by 0.5 or whatever. 0.5. Yes, 0.5, almost a percentage point. It went up by almost a percentage point, just under it. Now, some people may look at that. You see, these guys are really, really much better. Are they really? We're talking about less than a percentage. It went up by 0.5%. But if you listen to the way people discuss this in the media, and people that are saying this era is more talented, you would think that players today are shooting in the high 40s versus players in the past were shooting in the low 20s. And that's just not the case. Now, here's what's interesting. We also want to look at attempts per game. Today, teams are attempting, excuse me, that's, free throw. What is it? Free throw. Teams today are attempting over 34.7 threes a game. Over 34.7. Teams in the previous decade, in the 2010s, were attempting 23.1. And the difference is only 0.5 half of a percentage increase. But if you listen to these guys talk about it, you would think that what these guys are doing today is absolutely amazing, when in reality it's not. And here's the kicker. In the 2010s and in the 2000s, the three-point shot wasn't even an emphasis of the game, which meant that you needed to be more efficient with the shot when you took it. That's what Kevin Garnett was referencing. Whereas today, it is used as a crux, so you could just go out there and shoot as many as you want, trying to hit a certain percentage. So we've already dispelled this myth that, players today are much more advanced three-point shooters. They're not. Now, does that mean it's not a skill? No, it's absolutely a skill. But what this data shows us is that players in the past could shoot threes pretty much just as well as players today. Number one. Number two, we have evidence of there being great shooters today, and we have evidence of there being great shooters from the past. We'll give you some examples. Let's look at the top three-point shooters today. Let's look at Klay Thompson. Some people that come to mind. Let's look at, Stephen Curry. But if you can go back to previous eras, you can think of a guy like Ray Allen, right? As a matter of fact, when Stephen Curry broke the three-point record, it was Ray Allen's record he was actually breaking, a player from the past. So how do you explain all of this? What that tells me is that there have been three-point shooters throughout the duration of the history of the NBA. Then he got to the part about the ball handling skills. And he basically said that the reason that we see guys handling the ball the way that they do today is because of the NBA not enforcing the rules that they enforced on previous generations. He talked about players' ability to carry. putting your hand on the ball. He talked about players' ability, to travel. Traveling is rampant in the NBA today. So if you're able to travel, if you're able to carry the ball, obviously you're going to be more skillful because you can do more. But then it doesn't mean that those guys, if they were given the same freedoms, they couldn't do the same. And I think to suggest that is idiotic. There are people that are still making this argument that players today are more skilled, faster, stronger, whatever, but they have no empirical data to prove it. None. Do you know why? Because there is none. There is no data to suggest it. The average height of an NBA player is pretty much what it's been for the past 30 years, around 6'7". That's been it. So it's not like as if we're seeing taller players. Now people say, well, players are faster. Not really. Because there have always been fast players. There are players that are fast today, like a De'Aaron Fox, and there are players that were fast almost 30 years ago, like Allen Iverson. Like AI, you're talking about almost a 30-year window. AI was lightning quick, and so are players today. Athleticism. No one with a straight face can make an argument for players today being more athletic than players from the past, because if that's what you're going to say, we're going to then ask you, okay, give me some examples. Who are these freak athletes that we're looking at today and say, man, there's no athlete like this in the past? There's nobody. The fact is, players are as athletic as they have always been. This is a fact, and nobody wants to deal with it. Instead, you have people that are coming up here, twerking it up all over the place, and they cannot provide any concrete information. None. There have always been Skywalkers. Always. We can actually go through the generations. The 80s, you had people like Dr. J. I'm just going to give you names. You can go through the 90s. You had people like Clyde. You had people like Shawn Kemp. You had people like Michael Jordan. You go through the 2000s. You have people like the Vince Carters, the Kobe Bryants, the LeBrons in the 2000s. You go through the 2010s. You have the Derrick Roses and the Russell Westbrooks and all of these guys, the Blake Griffins. All the way to the present day, there is no proof. I challenge you, whether if you're an athlete or an NBA fan, if you believe that this era is more advanced, provide concrete proof beyond the fact of you saying, oh, they're just more. There is no proof. And if you don't have any proof, then shut up. Shut up. There is no proof. You have people saying this they have no proof. They can never substantiate their claim. They cannot do it. They can't. This episode is going to be a doozy, right? So what happened? Yesterday, I was going through our Instagram account. For those of you not following us on Instagram, the name of our Instagram is Dreamerspro, same name as the channel. If you also want to follow me, my handle is CTABANZ. Anyway, I was going through the messages, and we get messages on a daily basis. And some of it goes to like the request folder. So if we don't check the request folder, we don't see the messages. But nevertheless, I was like, okay, let me just see what some people are saying. And I click on this message, and I forgot the gentleman's name that sent it. Please forgive me, but he seemed to be a viewer of our channel. So I clicked on the message, and he sent like a link to a YouTube video. And then under it, he wrote something to the effect of, Nick Wright finally admits it, right? And I was like, what is he talking about? Now, for those of you who may be wondering, as you guys know, Nick Wright is a LeBron James supporter. He's a staunch LeBron James supporter. He came out in 2015 on the Undisputed, back when his partner was Chris Carter, and basically said, I think in 2016 or 17, one of those years, he said that LeBron had already surpassed Michael Jordan and all of this crazy stuff, right? But the shock value it created, it caused a lot of people to say, who is this guy? And then boom, he became a household name. Even if you Google Nick Wright, if you YouTube him, that's still his most viewed video on YouTube. It has millions and millions. and millions of views, right? So that was kind of his major entree into the national media, where he grabbed everyone's attention by essentially trolling Michael Jordan. And that's what he had been doing. He's been doing ever since then. Now, there's something interesting that happens in the sports world, in terms, especially in basketball. You have LeBron fans that say that they'll come to your channel, twerk it up all over the comment section, slap each other with honey, just basically disturbing the peace. And one of the things they'll always say is, man, all you do is talk about LeBron James. All you need is LeBron James. All you need is LeBron James. All you do is talk about LeBron James. All you do is talk about LeBron James. And in the midst of them doing that, what you fail to realize is that they're accusing you of the very thing that they do. What would we say about LeBron if there was no Michael Jordan to compare him to? Nothing. As a matter of fact, LeBron has this obsession with talking about Jordan all the time. He's always referencing himself to Jordan, comparing himself to Jordan. And this is all they do. Why do they do that? Because they know that Jordan is the standard. And if they want to be considered great, they got to compare themselves to the greatest player of all time. So they use Jordan as a way to make money, as a way to remain relevant. They can't just talk about themselves and that's it. No, we always got to bring in Jordan, but then turn around and say people use LeBron for views. When you have people that have built their careers off of trolling Michael Jordan. So I then decided to click on this video that he sent me. And in this video is Nick Wright, I believe, being interviewed by his son. I could be wrong. I think that's his son on his podcast. And Nick Wright, I think, made a prediction that LeBron is going to win the championship or something like that. And then he says that, you know, he basically starts to admit that he uses the whole LeBron versus Michael Jordan debate to enhance his career. And that it works in his favor the longer that it can debate LeBron being compared to Michael Jordan. And if there was no debate, it would actually hurt his career. Now, some of y'all are sitting there thinking like, Nick Wright said that? He absolutely did. But before we even get into his comments, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, PrizePicks, which is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. So what we'd like to do now is like to play exactly what Nick Wright had to say, of him confessing how he uses Jordan to remain relevant. And then want to come back and react to his comments. Take a listen to Nick Wright here.
Now you're saying the Lakers are going to win the title.
Because they are. Yeah.
All right. So wouldn't the Warriors winning the title and Steph getting his 5th ring before LeBron be the actual worst thing that's ever happened to you in your career?
Here's what you don't understand about media. You want to know what's actually bad for my career? LeBron putting the GOAT debate to rest. It is in my interest for that to be a hotly contested debate as long as I'm doing media. It's not in my interest for everyone to come around and be like, hey, Nick was right. What's next?
So this is a lose-lose for you.
No,
if LeBron wins,
no, because if
Steph
LeBron
the GOAT,
but
if
I'm
Curry
telling you right
wins,
now, people won't call him the GOAT. If LeBron
won
wins
a ring this year,
in year 20, people will say they'll find a way. People have just decided that it's not available to him after the Mavs series in 2011.
So you heard what Nick Wright had to say. You heard what he had to say. Nick Wright has been trolling MJ going on a decade now. Going on a decade. And he's not the only one. You see, there are a lot of people that have figured out a way to carve out a niche in sports media. You know, there are a lot of people that have been taking shots at Skip Bayless, you know, for him trolling trolling LeBron James for all of these years and all of that. But a lot of it was reactionary. He was reacting to the things that LeBron was doing and saying. In the case of these guys, they are creating scenarios to compare LeBron to Jordan and then take shots at Jordan. Some of y'all are like, but that's not true. It is true. Do you know why? Because Jordan doesn't say anything. There are no sound bites from Jordan. He says nothing. He posts nothing. So in order for you to gain something or say something about Jordan, you actually have to try to make something up, which is what these guys do. Whereas LeBron, he's always saying stuff like recently he said, telling son, call me GOAT, and all of these different things, right? So you can react to those things that he says. Jordan, on the other hand, says nothing. Says nothing, responds to no one, nothing. But nevertheless, they found a way to basically troll Michael Jordan by saying LeBron is better than Jordan, which is going to piss off a lot of people, perk up a lot of ears, and have people saying, wait, what? What did he just say? And just like that, you've created attention for yourself. And then once you do that, you continue doing that. Who are people that do this? Kendrick Perkins, Nick Wright, who signed to Clutch Sports. Shannon Sharp is another one that did that. Shannon Sharp all of a sudden came on TV and started talking about LeBron is better than, he started doing it out of nowhere. And he was even accused on TV with Steven Jackson and Joy Taylor that he's being influenced to say those things. And people figured out, oh, this is a way for me to remain relevant. And the way is by basically trolling people and saying, well, Jordan isn't all that. Jordan isn't all that. Or they start attacking Jordan's era. And you can gain an audience by doing that. These people are the inverse of Skip Bayless. They do the exact same thing Skip did, but on the other side. On the other side. Now, here's the irony. There are some people that say, oh, Skip is a racist. Skip don't like LeBron. He trying to tear down black. That's what LeBron fans would do. Oh, some of them would say, you trying to tear down a black man. You trying to tear down a black man. A black man, a black man. That's what they do. But they don't even see what they do on the other side. They don't see what the Nick Wrights and the shit, all of the, I guess they ain't not tearing down. I mean, I guess Michael Jordan ain't black after all. Who knew he was purple man? He was green man. Who knew? Or when they try to discredit Kobe Bryant or anybody else that they may feel is a threat to their king. Oh, then they're not black men. Oh, no, we're just talking ball. We're just talking ball. Nick Wright just explained to you the game. He just gave you the answer. The guy is making a name out of trolling Michael Jordan. If he doesn't compare LeBron to Jordan, there is no conversation to be had because Jordan is the standard. And they all make money off of Jordan, whether they agree, whether they admit it or they don't. Whether they admit it or whenever they put out these rankings and all of that, who's the person that's always at the top? Jordan. So you're comparing all of these guys to him. All of them. All of them. You even now have some NBA players trying to jump out the window, sell a soul. Well, Jordan wasn't really all of that. I mean, he wasn't. Now, there's some of them that's still holding on to their integrity. Some of them are. Some of them are. But some of them are just like, nah, we're just going to say whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. And that's what Nick Wright is doing. But here you have him admitting it himself. These people are obsessed with Michael Jordan. They are obsessed with Jordan. They are obsessed with it. They're obsessed to the point where they even put out different movements like we're done with that. These people are obsessed with Jordan. Obsessed with the man that doesn't even speak, doesn't even talk. He doesn't even acknowledge these people. None of them. They're obsessed with him, but they'll have you believe that you're obsessed with LeBron. This is how they do it.